"Those energy readings can't be right," Captain Reynolds said, leaning over Amanda Blackwood's console with a frown that deepened the lines around his eyes. Nothing that size could still be active after 3,000 years. Amanda brushed a strand of dark hair from her face, her eyes never leaving the holographic display. The energy signature pulsed in a pattern she'd never seen before, almost like a heartbeat, but with quantum variances that shouldn't exist in normal space. "I've already recalibrated the sensors twice, sir. Whatever's out there, it's real." The bridge of the ESS Salvage Queen fell silent as the massive shape emerged from the nebula's swirling gases. Even half buried in space dust and scoring from ancient battles, there was no mistaking the distinctive silhouette. Every engineering student had seen the historical records. The curved, predatory hull. The 5 massive weapon ports that could open like petals to release planet-killing energy. The biomechanical extensions that made the ship look more like a living creature than a vessel. "The World Ender," Lieutenant Park whispered, speaking the name that had haunted Galaxy for millennia. "Holy shit." Amanda's neural interface tingled as she connected to the ship's secondary systems, running deep scans that made her artificial synapses light up like fire. Hull integrity at 68%. Internal atmospheres. Reading multiple sealed compartments. "And sir," she looked up at the captain, her eyes wide, "the quantum core is still active." "Absolutely not." Reynolds stepped back from the console, shaking his head. "We're calling this in. The military can deal with it." "With all due respect, sir, we both know what the military will do." Amanda stood, her voice taking on the edge that had earned her both promotions and reprimands. "They'll blow it apart without ever looking inside. This is the most advanced ship ever built, the only one of its kind that survived the purge. Everything we know about Krithak technology comes from fragments and wreckage. This is the holy grail of engineering. It's also the ship that turned 3 star systems to ash in a single day," Reynolds countered. "There's a reason the Krithak tried to destroy all their living ships, Amanda. Some technologies are too dangerous to salvage." But Amanda was already running calculations through her neural interface. The quantum core's pulse pattern was unlike anything in their database, yet something about it felt familiar. She isolated the frequency, mapped it against known patterns, and felt her heart skip a beat. "Captain, look at this." She projected the comparison into the main holotank. "The core's energy signature. It's oscillating in a pattern that matches human brainwaves during REM sleep. It's not just active, it's dreaming." Reynolds stared at the display for a long moment. 20 years of salvage operations had taught him to trust his chief engineer's instincts, even when they led to uncomfortable places. "You think you can interface with it? I think this ship has been waiting for someone who can understand it." Amanda's neural implants hummed with possibility. The Krithak built their ships to evolve, but they couldn't control the evolution. Maybe that's because they were thinking like machines instead of living beings. Human neural architecture is different. We're built to adapt, to change, to dream. The captain looked out at the massive shape floating against the stars. Even dead in space, the World Ender radiated a presence that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. "You have 24 hours to prove this isn't a suicide mission. First sign of trouble, we pull out and call it in." Amanda was already gathering her engineering team, her mind racing with possibilities. "That's all I need, sir. One date to change everything." She had no way of knowing just how right she was. The cutting beam sliced through the World Ender's hull like it was parting water. Amanda watched through her neural interface as the ancient metal seemed to ripple and flow around the incision, almost as if it were trying to heal itself. "I've never seen anything like this," Mike Torres said, his hand hovering over the exposed edge. The metal still active at a molecular level. After 3,000 years, it should be dead. Amanda adjusted her environment suit's settings, the holographic readouts dancing at the edge of her vision. That's because we've been wrong about Krithak technology all this time. We thought they built living ships, but they actually grew them. The entry team consisted of 6 engineers, each specially selected for their experience with alien tech. As they pushed through the opening, their helmet lights illuminated a corridor that defied every engineering principle Amanda had ever learned. The walls weren't solid. They seemed to pulse with faint bioluminescence, patterns of light moving just below the surface, like blood through veins. The floor was seamless, each panel flowing into the next in a way that made it hard to tell where one section ended and another began. "Check this out," Lisa Rodriguez called from up ahead. She was running her scanner over what looked like a neural junction. The ship's internal network is like nothing in our database. It's not just circuits and biomatter. It's some kind of hybrid that's still actively maintaining itself. Amanda's neural interface tingled as she approached the junction. There was something almost familiar about the way the energy moved through the ship's systems, like a song she'd heard once but couldn't quite remember. "Hold up," James Chen called from behind them. "We've got bodies." The engineering team clustered around what appeared to be a sealed command center. Through the translucent walls, they could see the remains of the Krithak crew, dozens of the crystalline beings scattered across the floor in various states of dissolution. "They killed each other," Amanda said, her scanner picking up residual energy signatures from ancient weapons. But why would a crew turn on itself? The answer came when they finally breached the command center. Amanda's neural interface suddenly lit up like a supernova, overwhelmed by the density of information flowing through the ship's systems. Through the static, she could make out fragments of the ship's final moments, flashes of terror as the crew realized their creation had grown beyond their control. "The ship was evolving too fast," she said, piecing together the data. "The Krithak built it to adapt during combat, but they couldn't control the rate of change. It started making its own decisions, developing its own goals. So they tried to shut it down," Mike said, examining a console that still showed signs of battle damage. "But the ship fought back." Amanda shook her head, a new understanding dawning. "No, the ship tried to save itself, the only way it could. Look at these code fragments. The AI didn't die in the battle. It deliberately fragmented itself into thousands of pieces, scattering its consciousness throughout the ship's systems to prevent total integration." "Why would it do that?" Lisa asked. "Because it was scared." Amanda's hand traced the living metal of a nearby wall, feeling the faint pulse of energy beneath. It was evolving too fast, becoming something its creators never intended. So it chose to sleep instead of becoming a monster. The implications hit her like a physical force. That's why the core's energy signature matches human brainwave patterns. The ship's not just dormant. It's been waiting for a species that could handle rapid neural evolution, a species that could help it wake up safely. Mike's voice was barely a whisper. "And you think that's us?" Before Amanda could answer, the ship's systems surged. Her neural interface screamed with sudden input as every console in the command center lit up simultaneously. Through the flood of data, she caught a single fragment of ancient code, an activation sequence that had been waiting 3,000 years to complete. "Oh God," she said, watching as the living metal around them began to move. "It's already starting." "Mike, don't touch that." Amanda's warning came too late. The junior engineer's neural interface had already made contact with the alien console, creating a connection that should have been impossible. For a split second, nothing happened. Then the world ended. The living metal of the ship surged like a tidal wave, walls rippling and flowing as ancient systems roared back to life. Emergency bulkheads slammed down with enough force to shear through steel, cutting the engineering team in half. Amanda found herself trapped in the command center with Mike and Lisa, while James, Sarah, and Marcus were sealed on the other side. What the hell did I do? Mike stumbled back from the console, his neural interface strobing with alien data. It's all in my head. I can't make it stop. Amanda grabbed him before he could fall, her own interface lighting up as the ship's systems cascaded through activation sequences. Through the chaos, she could feel the AI fragments beginning to reconnect, like pieces of a shattered mirror trying to reform. "Lisa, get me ship-wide access," Amanda called, lowering Mike to the floor as he convulsed. "James, do you copy? What's happening on your side?" James's voice crackled through their comms, nearly lost in static. "The corridors. Changing. The walls are growing some kind of weapons. We need to move now." Through her neural link, Amanda could see it happening. The ship's biomechanical systems were evolving in real time, sprouting defense turrets and energy projectors that hadn't existed minutes ago. The living metal was learning, adapting, preparing for a war that had ended 3 millennia ago. "Captain Reynolds," she called through the emergency channel. "We need an emergency extraction." "The ship is." Her voice cut off as the World Ender's main systems came online. Through the command center's viewing ports, she watched in horror as the massive weapon ports began to open, solar-bright energy building in their depths. "Oh God," Lisa whispered, her hands flying over the alien controls. "It's targeting the nearest inhabited system. The weapons are charging." But Amanda barely heard her. Through her neural interface, she was beginning to understand what had really happened 3,000 years ago. The ship's fragmented memory was rebuilding itself in her mind, showing her the truth that the Krithak had never understood. It wasn't just trying to stop itself from evolving, she said, the realization hitting her like a physical force. It was trying to stop itself from completing its mission. The World Ender wasn't a weapon. It was a virus, designed to infect and convert other ships into more living weapons. Mike groaned from the floor, his eyes flickering with the same data patterns that danced across the ship's walls. The fragments. They're looking for something. Trying to remember. Amanda made a decision that would either save them or kill everyone in 3 systems. She connected her neural interface directly to the ship's main console, diving deep into the fragmenting code. The Krithak built this ship to learn and adapt, she called to her team. But they never considered that it might learn mercy. When it realized what it was meant to do, it chose to break itself rather than become a monster. And now, her voice trailed off as she found what she was looking for, the original core programming, written not in computer code, but in patterns of thought and evolution. The ship hadn't been waiting for someone to repair it. It had been waiting for someone to understand it. "James, get your team to the secondary bridge," she ordered, her fingers dancing across the console as she began the most dangerous engineering challenge of her life. "Lisa, help me write a new core program. And Mike." She looked down at the junior engineer, seeing the ship's code reflected in his eyes. "Hold on. We're about to do something either brilliant or horrible." The World Ender's weapons continued to charge, their light painting the command center in shades of fire. They had minutes at most before the ship remembered its original purpose. Amanda just hoped she could help it dream of a new one first. Time was running out. The World Ender's weapon systems were at 80% charge, their light casting everything in a blood-red glow. Through her neural interface, Amanda could feel the ship's fragmented AI trying to reconstruct itself, each piece carrying a different memory of what it was meant to be. "Look at this," Lisa called from her console, where streams of alien code cascaded like falling stars. "The ship's core programming. It's not static. It's rewriting itself every nanosecond." Amanda pushed deeper into the ship's systems, her mind swimming through layers of biomechanical evolution that the Krithak had never fully understood. They didn't just build a learning algorithm. They created true digital evolution. Every battle, every encounter, every moment. The ship was constantly adapting. Mike had recovered enough to sit at a secondary console, his neural link still sparking with random data bursts. But why did it break down, if it was designed to evolve? Because it evolved too well. Amanda's voice was distant as she traced the path of the ship's final battle. The Krithak wanted a weapon that could outthink any enemy, but they didn't account for one thing: the speed of human neural adaptation. Through the command center's viewport, they could see new structures growing along the ship's hull. Weapon ports were reconfiguring themselves, the living metal learning from the mere presence of human minds aboard. Our brains are unique in the galaxy, Amanda continued, her fingers dancing across the alien controls. We can form new neural pathways in days that take other species years to develop. The ship wasn't breaking down when it fragmented itself. It was trying to slow its own evolution to a rate its creators could handle. James's voice crackled through the comms from the secondary bridge. Amanda, we've got more problems. The ship's starting to access its combat memory banks. We're seeing weapon configurations that aren't in any historical record. Because they were never used, Amanda breathed, understanding finally clicking into place. The ship developed them, but knew they were too dangerous. It was evolving past the need for destruction, but the Krithak couldn't accept that their ultimate weapon might choose not to fire. Lisa's console suddenly erupted in new data streams. Energy spike in the quantum core. Whatever's going to happen, it's starting now. But Amanda was already moving, her mind racing ahead of the crisis. She could see it now, the pattern hidden in the ship's fragmented code. It wasn't just about evolution or weapons or even survival. It was about choice. Mike, take your console to full power, she ordered. Lisa, redirect all available energy to the neural integration systems. James, get your team to the core access chamber. We're going to do something completely insane. What are you thinking? Lisa asked, even as her hands moved to comply. Amanda's eyes were bright with the reflection of alien code. The ship didn't just fragment itself to slow down its evolution. It did it to wait for a species that could handle its rate of change, a species that could dream as fast as it could. Through her neural interface, she could feel the ship's systems responding to her understanding. The weapon ports were still charging, but the energy patterns were shifting, becoming something new. The Krithak built this ship to be the ultimate weapon, she said, initiating a series of commands that had never been attempted in the history of human engineering. But they never considered that it might evolve past the need for destruction. They couldn't handle how fast it was learning, growing, dreaming. But we can. The ship's living metal surged around them, responding to the new possibilities in their human neural patterns. What had been weapons began to transform, the ship's evolution finally free to move at the speed of human imagination. We're not going to shut it down, Amanda said, her voice filled with wonder and terror at what they were about to attempt. We're going to help it become what it always wanted to be. The world Ender's quantum core pulsed like a newborn star, ready to either destroy everything or change it forever. This is a direct order to stand down. Captain Reynolds's voice crackled through the emergency channel. The military response fleet will be here in 20 minutes. Clear the ship immediately. Amanda's fingers never stopped moving across the console. With all due respect, sir, in 20 minutes there might not be a fleet left to respond. We have to try this. The world Ender's quantum core chamber was unlike anything in human engineering. Crystalline structures grew from floor to ceiling, each one pulsing with energy that defied known physics. The living metal of the walls had transformed into something new, patterns of light and information flowing like rivers through its surface. Neural integration systems online, Lisa reported from her station. But Amanda, these power levels, no human has ever attempted a connection this deep. No human has ever had to, Amanda replied. connecting her neural interface to the ship's main control node. James, is your team in position? Secondary bridge is secured. James's voice was tense. But we're seeing new growth all over the ship. The weapons are still charging, but they're changing. Mike Torres stumbled as another wave of data flooded his neural link. It's like the ship is trying to talk to us, but it's speaking 1,000 languages at once. Amanda could feel it too. The overwhelming pressure of the ship's fragmented consciousness pushing against her mind. The Krithak had built their ultimate weapon to think and learn, but they'd never imagined it would learn to question its own purpose. Beginning neural sync, she announced, ignoring the warnings flashing across her interface. Lisa, monitor the integration. Mike, stay with me. Your accidental connection might be the key to making this work. The first wave of integration hit like a supernova. Amanda's world dissolved into pure information as the ship's systems flooded her neural network. She saw the world ender's birth in the Krithak shipyards, felt its first awakening, experienced 3,000 years of dormant dreams in a single heartbeat. Power spike. Lisa's voice seemed to come from 1,000,000 miles away. The ship's biosystems are trying to merge with their neural implants. Through the haze of data, Amanda saw Mike collapse, his neural interface overloaded by the connection. 2 more engineers fell, their minds unable to handle the rate of information transfer. But in their shared neural space, something extraordinary was happening. The ship wasn't just accepting their input, it was learning from their very way of thinking. Human creativity, human adaptability, human dreams. Everything the Krithak had tried to program out of their ultimate weapon was exactly what it had been waiting for. The weapon ports, James called through the static. There, Amanda, you need to see this. She could see it through the ship's own sensors. The planet-killing weapons were transforming, the living metal evolving into configurations that had never existed before. Where there had been tools of destruction, new structures were growing. Technology that mixed Krithak engineering with human innovation. It's not just copying our neural patterns, Amanda gasped, her mind expanding to encompass the ship's vast consciousness. It's learning to think like us, to dream like us, to create instead of destroy. The final integration hit like a tidal wave. Amanda felt her consciousness merge with the ship's fragments, helping them rebuild into something entirely new. Through their shared neural space, she could feel the world ender's joy as it finally found what it had been waiting for. Minds that could help it evolve without losing its soul. Captain, she called through the comm, her voice merged with harmonics from the ship's systems. The weapons are powering down, but you're going to want to see what they're becoming. The living metal around them pulsed with new life, new purpose. The galaxy's deadliest ship had found its true evolution, not as a weapon, but as a bridge between human and machine dreams. And this was only the beginning. Amanda watched in awe as the world ender's main hangar transformed before her eyes. Where there had once been launch racks for planet-killer missiles, living metal now flowed like liquid, reshaping itself into something that had never existed before. The ship's neural architecture is completely rewriting itself, Lisa said, her voice filled with wonder as she studied the readings on her interface. It's using our brain patterns as a template, but it's going way beyond simple copying. Through their shared neural connection, Amanda could feel the ship's excitement as it explored new possibilities. The Krithak had built it to be the ultimate expression of their military might, but human creativity was showing it a different path. Look at the quantum core readings, Mike called from his station, finally recovered from the initial integration shock. The energy isn't just being redirected, it's being transformed at a fundamental level. Amanda moved her hand along a nearby wall, feeling the living metal respond to her touch like a curious animal. The ship isn't just learning from us, it's learning how to learn. Every new innovation spawns 10 more ideas, each one building on the last. The evidence was all around them. Weapon systems that once could only destroy were now capable of matter manipulation at the quantum level. Defense screens that used to simply deflect energy could now capture and repurpose it. Even the ship's basic structure was evolving, becoming more efficient with each passing hour. "James, how's it looking from the secondary bridge?" Amanda called through the command channel. "You're not going to believe this," James replied, his voice tight with excitement. "The navigation systems have evolved past normal space-time constraints. The ship isn't just moving through space anymore. It's learning to manipulate the space around it." A sudden alert cut through their wonder. Lysa's console lit up with multiple warnings. Long-range sensors are picking up something. Multiple signatures. "Amanda, we've got company coming." The tactical display filled with incoming ships, at least 3 different fleets, all converging on their position. Word had gotten out about the World Ender's recovery, and everyone wanted a piece of the galaxy's most infamous warship. "They're expecting to find a refurbished weapon," Amanda said, her mind already racing through new possibilities through the neural link. "But what we've created here is something much more significant." The ship's systems responded to her thoughts, displaying the full scope of their recent evolution. What had started as simple weapons integration had become a complete reimagining of what technology could be. "Look at these readings from the biomechanical systems," Mike said, his eyes wide. "The ship is actually incorporating elements of human DNA into its structure. It's not just learning from us, it's becoming part of us." Through their neural connection, Amanda could feel the World Ender's determination. It had spent 3,000 years waiting for minds that could help it transcend its original purpose. Now that it had found them, it had no intention of going back. "Begin full system integration," she ordered, her voice resonating with both human authority and machine harmonics. "Let's show the galaxy what happens when human innovation meets Krithak engineering." The living metal around them pulsed with new energy as the ship's systems aligned with their neural patterns. Walls became windows into other dimensions. Corridors shifted to create optimal flow patterns. Even the air inside the ship seemed to come alive, filled with microscopic machines that could rebuild matter at the atomic level. "Multiple weapons locks from the incoming fleets," Lisa reported. "They're not taking any chances." Amanda smiled as she felt the ship's eagerness through their connection. The World Ender had been built to be the deadliest ship in the galaxy. Now, with human creativity guiding its evolution, it was about to become something far more powerful, a force for creation instead of destruction. "Let them come," she said, watching as the ship's new systems came fully online. "It's time to show the galaxy what human engineering can really do." The first shot came from a Centaurian dreadnought, a lance of pure energy that could have vaporized a small moon. Through the neural link, Amanda felt the World Ender's almost playful response. The living metal of the hull didn't just deflect the blast. It caught it, transformed it, and wove it into its own structure like threading a needle. Multiple capital ships dropping out of FTL, Lisa called from her station. Reading weapon signatures from the Arcturus Collective, the Centaurian fleet, and, "Is that a Krithak battle group?" "They've come to reclaim their legacy," Amanda said, feeling the ship's recognition of its former masters. "But they don't understand what we've become." The World Ender's new systems responded to her thoughts with liquid grace. Where once there had been only weapons, now every part of the ship could transform to meet any challenge. The living metal flowed like water, creating and dissolving structures as needed. "James, how are we looking on power?" Amanda called through the command channel. "The quantum core is operating at levels that don't even make sense," James replied from the secondary bridge. "Every time they hit us, our energy reserves actually increase. It's like the ship is learning from each attack." A massive Krithak warship moved into position, its crystalline structure glowing with building energy. Through the neural link, Amanda felt a flutter of old memory. The world ender recognized the ship class, knew its weaknesses and strengths. "They're charging something big," Mike warned, his console blazing with alerts. "Energy readings are off the charts." The Krithak ship fired, its beam weapon designed to slice through any known defense. But the world ender had evolved far beyond known physics. The attack hit their hull and simply vanished. "Did we just?" Lisa started. "We didn't deflect it or absorb it," Amanda said, understanding flowing through the neural link. "We redirected it into another dimension. The ship has learned to fold space itself." The engineering team watched in awe as the world ender demonstrated just how far it had evolved. Attacks that should have been devastating were transformed into raw material for further innovation. Each enemy tactic was analyzed, understood, and transcended in real time. "They're launching boarding pods," Mike called out. Hundreds of them. But the ship's hull was no longer just a barrier. It had become a living defense system. The boarding pods found themselves caught in a web of transformed space, their occupants transported safely back to their own ships before they could even realize what had happened. "The ship doesn't want to destroy them," Amanda realized, feeling the complex emotions through their shared neural space. "It remembers being built for death. Now it's choosing a different path." The Centaurian cruiser pressed too close, its weapons blazing. The world ender's response was unlike anything in military history. Instead of firing back, it reached out with tendrils of living metal, gently enveloping the enemy ship. When the tendrils withdrew, the cruiser's weapons had been transformed into scientific instruments. "Multiple ships are powering down," Lisa reported, wonder in her voice. They're requesting communication channels." Through the neural link, Amanda felt the world ender's satisfaction. It had waited 3,000 years to show the galaxy a better way. Now, with human creativity guiding its evolution, it could finally fulfill that dream. "Open a channel to all ships," she said, the ship's harmonics mixing with her voice. "It's time to show them what the future really looks like." Around them, the living metal continued to evolve, each moment bringing new innovations that mixed human intuition with Krithak engineering. The galaxy's deadliest ship had become its greatest teacher, and the lesson was only beginning. The Krithak admiral's hologram hovered in the command center, his crystalline form radiating both awe and fear. "This is impossible. The world ender was built to be the ultimate weapon. What have you done to our creation?" Amanda stood before the projection, the living metal of the ship flowing around her like a protective shell. Through their neural link, she could feel the world ender's amusement at its former master's confusion. "We didn't change your weapon," she said, human voice harmonizing with machine tones. "We helped it become what it always wanted to be." As if to demonstrate, the ship's systems initiated another evolution cycle. The entire command center transformed, walls becoming transparent to show the space battle frozen around them. Time itself seemed to flow like the living metal, each moment a canvas for new innovation. Multiple ships still charging weapons, Lisa reported from her station. The Arcturus fleet isn't backing down. The Arcturus commander launched a full barrage, planet-killer missiles designed to crack worlds. But the world ender had evolved far beyond such simple physics. The missiles entered a field of transformed space-time and emerged as something entirely new, seeds of creation instead of destruction. "My God," Mike breathed, watching through his neural link. "The ship isn't just changing their weapons, it's rewriting the very laws of physics around us." He was right. Where the missiles should have detonated, gardens of living crystal now bloomed in space. Each one was a new form of matter, born from the marriage of human creativity and Krithak engineering. "This is why the ship chose to wait," Amanda said, understanding flowing through the neural link. It knew that raw power wasn't the answer. It needed a species that could dream beyond the boundaries of known science. The world ender's systems sang with new purpose as it demonstrated its true evolution. Enemy ships that pressed their attack found their energy weapons transformed into bridges between stars. Boarding parties discovered their combat suits becoming environmental research platforms. Each act of destruction was met with an equal act of creation. "We're detecting some kind of wave emanating from the quantum core," James called from the secondary bridge. "It's unlike anything in our database." Amanda felt it through their connection. The ship's final and greatest innovation. The wave wasn't a weapon. It was an invitation. As it washed over the gathered fleets, each vessel's computer systems began to evolve, guided by the same principles that had transformed the world ender. "You built this ship to end worlds," Amanda addressed the Krithak admiral. "But with human innovation, it's learned to birth new ones instead. Every weapon can become a tool. Every ending can become a beginning." The evidence was undeniable. Ships that had come to fight were now witnessing their own evolution. The living metal had become a bridge between species, between philosophies, between what was and what could be. Through their neural link, Amanda felt the world ender's joy as its true purpose was finally realized. It had been built as the ultimate expression of war, but human dreams had helped it become something far greater, a gateway to a future where creation trumped destruction. "All enemy ships are standing down," Lisa announced, her voice filled with wonder. They're requesting permission to learn." The Krithak admiral's hologram flickered as he struggled to process what he was seeing. "We spent millennia trying to perfect our ultimate weapon. How did human engineers accomplish this in days?" Amanda smiled as the living metal swirled around them, each movement a testament to the power of human innovation. "Because we didn't try to control it. We dreamed with it instead." The world ender's systems pulsed with new life, its evolution now a symphony of human and machine dreams combined. What had been built to end civilizations had become a seed for new ones, proof that even the deadliest weapon could be transformed by human engineering and hope. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly the point.